My boyfriend cheated on me with my best friend 15 years ago, and she got pregnant. My family knew, but hid the truth. I left home and cut all ties with them. Now my mother wants me to reconcile with them. 15 years ago, my best friend, who was 18 at the time, got pregnant by my boyfriend, who was 20, whom I had been dating for 3 years. My family knew about it, but said nothing to me, so I left home. Now, 15 years later, we are communicating again. And my mother, 59, is demanding that I reconcile with my ex-boyfriend and my former best friend. I am now 33 years old. This story began 15 years ago, and it profoundly affected my life. When I was 18 and in my senior year of high school, I truly believed my life was on the right track. I lived with my parents and 4 siblings, aged 23, 22, 20, and 14, and spent most of my time with my best friend Ashley, 18, or my boyfriend Kyle, 20, whom I had been dating for 3 years. Ashley's and Kyle's parents were my parents' best friends, so we had known each other since infancy. We celebrated holidays and birthdays together and often stayed at each other's houses since we lived in the same town. Ashley had been my friend for 18 years, and I truly trusted her with everything. Sometimes our parents joked that we were attached at the hip because we were inseparable. I had been dating Kyle for 3 years. I believed he was the love of my life and that we would marry in the future. We had a fairly serious relationship and even discussed marriage after he finished college. He was a sophomore at the time. Although I had plans to go to university, I was perfectly content with the idea of marrying Kyle and becoming a stay-at-home mom. My parents loved Kyle and supported our relationship. I was truly happy. It's worth mentioning that my sister, 20, was dating Kyle's brother, 23, and all our siblings were very close. Then I noticed that Ashley became depressed and distant. After a lot of questioning, she admitted she was pregnant. I was surprised because I knew she had broken up with her boyfriend some time ago and had no idea she was seeing someone else. I asked who the father was, but she wouldn't say, only hinting that it was her ex. She was in total despair, so I didn't push and just tried to comfort her. I was with her when she told her family. Her parents were disappointed but promised to support whatever decision she made. They tried to find out who the father was, but she refused to name him and made me promise to keep quiet. Her parents didn't even know she had ever had a boyfriend. I supported her for the next 9 months. I went to ultrasounds and doctor's appointments with her, was by her side, helped set up the nursery, and supported her when she felt down. I threw her a baby shower, went shopping with her, and even attended prenatal classes for parents. We chose the name together, and she even asked me to be present during the birth. I noticed that the pregnancy was physically and emotionally hard on her, and I tried to support her in every way possible. She was my best friend. She was always there for me, and I loved her. A couple of weeks before the due date, I went to the mall and coincidentally ran into Ashley's ex-boyfriend. Although I had promised never to contact him, the realization of my friend's emotional state caused a burst of anger, and I lashed out at him. I told him everything I thought, calling him a piece of trash for abandoning a pregnant girl without caring about his unborn child. He looked stunned and said he had no idea what I was talking about. It turned out that Ashley had never told him about her pregnancy. When I told him she was already 9 months along, he replied that he couldn't be the father because they had broken up over a year ago and had had no contact since. I was confused but apologized for screaming at him in the middle of the mall. After that, he became sarcastic, said some nasty things, and then added that maybe I should ask Ashley's friend, Kyle, if he was the father. I didn't think much of his words. Kyle and Ashley had been friends their whole lives. The three of us were very close because of our parents' friendship, but there had never been any signs that anything was going on between them. That same evening, my younger sister, 14, and I were getting ready for a movie night at home. I started venting about the conversation with Ashley's ex and his words. My sister, who was usually very blunt, suddenly went quiet and didn't react. After a while, she said she needed to go to the bathroom and left. I decided to get some snacks and went down to the kitchen. There, I overheard my sister scolding my mother. This moment is very blurry in my memory because I was overwhelmed with emotion. My sister told my mother that I had run into Ashley's ex, relayed his words, and stated that she no longer wanted to hide the truth from me. Kyle was the father of Ashley's baby. I was stunned, absolutely stunned. I froze in place, then, shaking, walked into the kitchen and demanded an explanation. My mother and sister turned pale when they saw me. My sister burst into tears. She began to explain, and later I learned even more details from others, that at the end of summer break, Kyle and Ashley were at the same party, got drunk, and slept together. Ashley got pregnant and told Kyle, but they were both ashamed and afraid to admit it to me. They also didn't tell their parents. However, Ashley couldn't keep it in and eventually confessed to her parents. They informed Kyle's parents and then mine. This happened when Ashley was in her first trimester. By the beginning of the second trimester, all our siblings and Kyle's and Ashley's siblings knew. Everyone except me. I cannot put into words what I felt then. I was physically ill for the next 3 days and couldn't talk to anyone. My parents apologized but said they didn't want to hurt me or destroy the relationship between the families. I didn't speak to Kyle or Ashley, even though they flooded my phone with messages and calls and came to my house. I refused to see them. At one point, Kyle's mother came to our house, and my mother let her into my room. I was lying in bed, still feeling terrible and emotionally devastated by the betrayal. She tried to convince me to forgive them, saying that Ashley and the baby needed me. I remained silent. 2 weeks later, Ashley went into labor. I learned from my parents that she had a difficult labor, lost a lot of blood, and had an emergency C-section. Kyle, as it turned out, was at the birth. I was devastated, heartbroken by the betrayal of both of them, and by the fact that I had planned to be there, but now physically and emotionally couldn't, even though I had waited for this moment for 9 months. My starsha sestra, older sister, went to the hospital to see her boyfriend, and my other siblings weren't home, so I was left alone with my parents. All I wanted was to lie in bed, cuddle with my mom, and cry my heart out. Ashley's mother called my mom. My mom came into my room and said she and my dad were going to the hospital. I was in disbelief and asked her to stay with me. She said that Ashley's parents needed all the support they could get and that we would discuss everything later. I tried to tell her not to leave, that I needed their support too. But she replied that I was being selfish, and they left. I was left alone in the house and simply couldn't process what had happened over the last few weeks. I couldn't believe that my parents went to support the people who betrayed me while I suffered alone. Was I really being selfish for thinking that? I don't know. When exactly it happened, I don't remember, but my sadness turned into a rage unlike anything I had ever felt before. In a fit of emotion and betrayal, I began packing my things. I decided to leave home. It took me some time to realize it, and I began to hesitate, just sitting in the living room feeling empty. After a while, I received a message from my sister. It said that Ashley had given birth to a healthy girl and that they were both fine. She attached a photo of the newborn and wrote that they named her Sarah, the name Ashley and I had chosen months ago. A little later, she sent a second message. My parents, along with her and Kyle's and Ashley's parents, were going to a bar to celebrate the baby's birth. I don't remember much of what happened next. I think I was just completely crushed, and my memory of that time is very hazy. I left, I got on a train and moved away. I lived in a hostel in Phoenix for a while, got a job at a store, and planned to finish school there. My parents, siblings, Kyle, and Ashley tried to contact me. My mother left panicked voicemails demanding I come back. They even filed a missing persons report, but since I was 18, it didn't seem to lead anywhere. Shortly after, I met Dean, 21. He also lived in Phoenix and had a complicated relationship with his family. We hit it off quickly and became friends. He helped me a lot during that period. It was hard. I had no idea how to take care of myself or how to be an adult. Dean introduced me to his group of friends, helped me finish school, and soon I moved in with him and his friends. He supported me as I worked through my pain. I really struggled with myself, at times regretting my decision and wanting to see a therapist, but I absolutely couldn't afford it. He was there for me through everything, and I don't think I would have lasted long without him. A year later, we started dating. He inherited money from his grandfather, and decided to move to a large city on the other side of the country. Even though we hadn't been together that long, he asked me to go with him. I hesitated because we both had a lot of emotional baggage and I still felt insecure about my life situation. But eventually I agreed. We moved, found jobs, and tried to survive. Shortly after my 21st birthday, we decided to get married. It was a spontaneous, crazy decision, but we did it. I enrolled in university, and Dean helped me pay for my studies. He started his own company, which began to turn a profit, and we started living more comfortably. I studied at the university and worked part-time to contribute. We had our ups and downs, but we made it. After graduating, I started working at his company, and together we gradually built it up. Looking back, I realized that when I married Dean, I wasn't in love with him. I loved him, but I wasn't in love. But he was always there, unconditionally and without reservation. And now, I don't think I could love him more. He is the love of my life. We've been married for 12 years, and we have a 2-year-old son and a 6-month-old baby. Sometimes I regretted leaving my family, but I just couldn't go back. It was too painful. I felt that my parents chose Ashley and Kyle over me. At 25, I went to therapy to deal with my emotions. Last year, I received a letter from a 14-year-old girl named Evelyn. She explained that she was my niece, the daughter of my older sister and Kyle's brother. She knew about me and wanted to meet. Although I was hesitant to respond, we started writing to each other. I should note that she didn't know what happened 15 years ago, so our conversations were quite harmless. We talked about her school and hobbies. She told me about my family. I learned that I have 10 nieces and nephews. I also learned that Kyle married Ashley 4 years after I left, and they had 2 sons in addition to Sarah. My parents continued to be friends with Kyle's and Ashley's families. And to me, it looked like my family had just continued their normal lives despite my absence. Evelyn tried to talk to me about the past, but I didn't think I should explain anything to her. So I just said that things change and sometimes life events cause people to grow apart. We continued to correspond occasionally for almost a year. In her letter this January, Evelyn shared how the pandemic had hit the whole family hard, how my parents were struggling to keep their house, and how both of my brothers had lost their jobs and couldn't pay their bills. I was surprised at how aware she was of these problems at just 14, but the financial strain was also causing tension in her own family. I felt a sense of guilt and regret, and since I had recently given birth, I was even more emotional. I talked to my husband, and he was very supportive. He said he would be by my side no matter what I decided. We are financially stable. The pandemic didn't affect our situation much. We aren't wealthy, but we live comfortably. After learning more details and discussing it with Dean, we decided to help my parents with their house. A week ago, my husband and I flew to my home state. I saw my family for the first time in 15 years. I had so many emotions: regret, pain from the past, a sense of betrayal. My parents, I think, felt relief at seeing me. It was a very strange day. We talked for a long time and agreed to try to build some kind of normal relationship. So much time has passed, and I feel very awkward around them. Sometimes they seem like strangers. Dean and I spent a week there, continued communicating, and I truly believed we were moving toward building a friendly relationship. But then my mother started insisting that I sit down and talk to Kyle and Ashley. She explained that she wanted everything to be like it was before. I said I didn't want to talk to them. Although I had long let go of the past, I no longer have any ties to them, and I don't want to bring the matter up again. I said I was willing to try to build a relationship with my parents because they are my family, and I had truly started to care about my niece, but I want nothing to do with Kyle, Ashley, and their family. I never demanded that my parents stop communicating with them, but I didn't want to myself. Dean supported me. My mother called me selfish and said I was simply obligated to try and restore our relationships. I replied that I wasn't going to negotiate and sever, and now everything depended on her, whether she wanted to have a relationship with me or not. She said okay, but 2 days later, Kyle's mother called me. I hadn't given her my number. She actually demanded that I talk to Kyle and Ashley because my return had created tension in their family. I hung up. I called my mom and asked her directly. It turned out she had given my number to that woman herself to restore family bonds. I told her she was choosing them over me again. She cried, screamed at me, called me selfish, and said she just wanted her family back. I hung up again. It's been several days since I've spoken to any of them, but my mother and Kyle's mother continue to call me. Even though I think I'm right and believe I should prioritize my well being, as well as the well being and happiness of my husband, who supports me 100% and even put my mother in her place and my sons, I'm starting to have doubts. I don't know if I should listen to my mother and talk to Ashley and Kyle. I'm beginning to wonder if I overreacted 15 years ago. I feel like maybe I am being selfish by not trying to restore the relationship. I would love to hear advice or opinions on what to do in this situation. Suddenly, I've started doubting my entire life path. I am completely lost and don't know what to do. Update 1. 2 years later. Good heavens, it's already been 2 years since I wrote that post. Many people have been asking for an update. First, I want to thank all the wonderful people who wrote to me, sent kind messages, and supported me. I am truly grateful. A lot has happened over these years, and unfortunately, not all of it was good. To keep this from being 100 pages long, I never mentioned my younger sister in my first post. Her relationship with our parents deteriorated significantly after I left, and at 20, she completely cut off contact with them. I got her number from our older sister, and although it was awkward at first, since 15 years had passed, we started talking again. She was very angry at me for leaving. She's had a tough life, and it wasn't easy. She has 2 small children. Honestly, the kids helped us bond again. Now she is my best friend, and we talk every day. Regarding my other siblings, I maintain regular contact with both my brothers, although we aren't particularly close. My older sister and I have a good relationship now, but last year there was a period when we didn't speak for a long time. Since she is married to Kyle's brother, it was hard for her to be in the middle of all this family drama. Now things are okay, and I have a great relationship with my nieces and nephews. I didn't go to one of my niece's birthdays. I just felt it would be too much for me. Now, about my parents. This is the most painful topic for me, and at one point, I felt like I was reliving all those terrible emotions I had at 18. My mother would not stop pestering me about not talking to Kyle and Ashley. Her calls on this subject went on for months, even after I returned home. It bordered on emotional blackmail. She blamed me for not respecting her wishes, for her problems with friends, for her health issues, and eventually accused me of taking her grandchildren away. Last June, I had a daughter, and it seems that finally drove her over the edge. I'm talking about 100 plus calls a day, messages every 20 minutes for any reason, news about people I don't even want to hear about. When she started pestering Dean, I couldn't take it anymore. I was afraid to block her, so I talked to my father. That was probably the first truly honest conversation we've had in 17 years. I was emotionally drained, exhausted from caring for 3 children, and just at my breaking point. I probably poured out all my feelings and emotions to him. I don't know what happened between them after that. He doesn't talk much about it. But her calls gradually stopped. And something clearly happened, because in August, my father filed for divorce. Now, my father and I stay in regular contact, though I don't think our relationship will ever be the same. My mother is in total despair. In August, her calls became insane. And as it turned out, it wasn't just to me. I changed my number, and since February, she hasn't been able to reach me. One of my brothers told me she started having problems with anxiety and depression and lost many friends. I don't know if she still keeps in touch with Kyle's and Ashley's families. I don't want anything to do with her anymore, and I don't want her near my children. The things she said about me and my husband, whom she barely even knows after my 15-year absence, are madness. Yes, I'm sorry I no longer have a mother, but trying to restore even the scraps of a relationship feels like a waste of energy and pure torture. As for Kyle and Ashley, I received a few calls from Kyle's mother, as I mentioned in my post. I blocked her, and no one else has called me. I have no idea what they are doing or where they are now. We haven't communicated. The only thing that happened in August, when everything was going to hell, was that my brother-in-law, Kyle's brother, gave me a letter supposedly written by Ashley. I still haven't opened it and don't know if I want to. I feel like I've moved on and let go of their betrayal, but at the same time, I'm curious about what she has to say after all these years. However, it might stir up old emotions, and I'm not sure I want to feel all that again. For now, I'm doing okay, focusing on my family, and I really hope all of this is finally behind me. Update 2, 1 month later. I've been asked a lot of questions and can't answer them all right now. I plan to provide more info later, but for now, I'll answer the most frequent ones. I still haven't read Ashley's letter. After the last update, I started going to therapy again, and Dean and I decided it would be best to give the letter to my therapist and let them decide when and if I'm ready to read it. I haven't spoken to my mother since the last update. I've received messages from her on Facebook, as well as from Ashley's mother. For the first time, I didn't even read them. I have since deleted Facebook. Neither Kyle nor Ashley has tried to contact me through social media. The only thing I know is that Kyle asked my brother-in-law for my address or number, but he refused. That's when Ashley gave him the letter. Currently, my brother-in-law isn't speaking to his family. Kyle and Ashley have split up, according to him, but he doesn't know if the divorce is finalized. Last week, my father was in town. He doesn't know my address and has never been to my house. For the first time in nearly 20 years, we had an honest and open conversation. It was very difficult, and it took me several days to recover, but it was necessary. I learned a lot of new things about my mother. Many of you suggested there must have been something in her past that made her this way, and about what was happening between the time they found out about Ashley's pregnancy and my return 2 years ago. It's a huge amount of information, and I'll have to process it in therapy for a long time. It's a lot, so I'll likely write a separate update about it. Also, regarding my younger sister, she is not to blame for anything, and I never blamed her for hiding the truth. She was a teenager. She knew it was wrong, but was under immense pressure from our mother. After I left, her life became a living hell. My mother was unbearable and blamed her for everything. Once again, thank you for the support. Please cherish your loved ones if they are truly there for you through good and bad times. Author's comment. 2 months later. From my father, I learned that, according to him, Ashley and Kyle didn't have a relationship before the cheating. But that could be a lie. Apparently, she liked him, so it wasn't just a random drunk hookup. If I had known that back then, it would have killed me, but I already suspected it. Even without her ex's words, he suspected something. They weren't dating by the time that party happened, but I don't think he ever liked Kyle. So their close relationship was a red flag for him. I wasn't a party girl, and neither was Ashley. I don't know why exactly they went to a party that day. I don't know if they arrived together or separately, but probably separately. Ashley had other friends who liked parties. Regarding alcohol, I don't remember them ever being heavy drinkers. At least I never saw Ashley so drunk that she lost control or memory. So I never really believed that version, but I wasn't there. And honestly, it doesn't matter if they were drunk or not. It's still a betrayal. I received a few messages from Kyle back then, but I never responded to any calls or messages after I found out he was the father. I never spoke to them again. Sometimes I regret it. Maybe it would have been better for all of us if I had just said everything on my mind before cutting contact. But back then, I was in such a bad state and was often sick. At this point, I think my mother is grieving the loss of that close family and friend bond we once had. She hasn't realized yet that none of her 5 children are speaking to her or seeing her. None of her grandchildren know her. No one, as far as I know, is communicating with her. For me personally, that would be the end. I can't imagine what her emotional state is like now. We all agreed she needs psychological or even psychiatric help. Mom refused. Dad and my older brother tried to convince her, but you can't force someone who doesn't want to change.